Huntington's disease by Cam Cron and Emma Adin. What is Huntington's disease? Huntington's disease is a mental condition that usually manifests itself between the ages of 30 and 50 years old. It causes deterioration in the nerve cells in the brain, which causes many different side effects. It is a genetic disorder that is commonly found in people with a European background. Huntington's disease is inherited by a heterozygous genotype. This is because you can develop one faulty copy, which is called the autosomal dominant pattern. Now, what causes HD? Huntington's disease is caused by an inherited faulty gene, which causes a gradual loss of neurons. This happens in the parts of the brain called the basal ganglia and the cerebral cortex. The offspring of a person with HD has a 50% chance of inheriting the disease. What are symptoms of HD? Movement degeneration, muscle spasms, and loss of control, walking problems, compulsive behavior, cognitive processing loss, and mood changes. Some examples would be a decrease in handwriting and the shaking of the hands. How common is HD? Huntington's disease is estimated to affect 3 to 7 per 100,000 people that are of European descent. This disease is less common in people of Japanese, Chinese, and African descent. Also, men are more likely to pass on the disease than women, but they both have the same probability of contracting this disease. The situation of Nick and Nora. Nick and Nora want to start a family, but they want to know if their children will have the possibility of having HD. Nora is at the age of 30 and has no history of HD in their family. She also has no symptoms of HD and is a homozygous recessive, which means that she does not have the disease. Nick is 30 years old and has a history of HD in the family. His grandfather died of it, and his great-grandmother did not even have it. Symptoms of HD. He has no symptoms so far, and his genotype is unknown. And now we'll take it to Emma, showing you guys the pedigrees.
Nick and Nora to determine the possibilities of their children manifesting the Huntington's disease. Now we know that they themselves do not show any signs of Huntington's, and they are 30 years of age, and it usually manifests itself between the ages of 30 and 50. So Nick could possibly have it. We know Nora cannot because of her no family history of it in the past. And the reason why we use the pedigrees is to be able to track a disease or a trait, in this case Huntington's disease, throughout a family. And we use the Punnett squares to explain the probability of the child having that disease and what phenotype they will have to see what they could possibly pass on to their children as well. Because Nora's family does not show signs of the Huntington's disease, it means that she won't have the disease. Now, for Nick's family, what we do know is that his grandfather, on his father's side, passed away of Huntington's disease. We do not know about his great-grandfather, but we can assume that because we know his great-grandmother was homozygous recessive for not having the disease, that his great-grandfather would have had to have Huntington's as well in order to pass that dominant allele down. It told us that his grandmother did not have Huntington's either. And if we do a Punnett squared across his grandfather and his grandmother to see the probability that his dad will have Huntington's, over here we have his dad on top with Huntington's and his mother on the side. And if we do the cross, we see that he has a 50% chance of having the disease, shown by the capital H's. Now, since he has a 50% chance, he has a 25% chance of passing that down to Nick. And we know that Nick at least has the recessive allele because his mother was recessive. And so Nick has a 25% chance of having Huntington's and not showing any signs of it currently. He could, and that makes it so that his children have a 12.5% chance of having the disease because his father may or may not have it. We don't know. And that's a 50% chance, so a half times a half of him possibly passing it down is equal to 1/4, and then times another half is equal to 12.5, which is 1/8. So the possibilities of them having a child with Huntington's is relatively small, but it isn't certain. There are 2 tracks that we can see if his father has it or if he doesn't. And this is shown if he has it, then his kids will have a 25%, Nick's kids will have a 25% chance of having the disease because Nick will then have had the 50% chance of getting that allele or not. And that's shown in the same Punnett square as earlier. So it's basically the same as earlier, but now it's just a little more bad for the children because you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it. Now, if his father did not have the disease, his children have 0% chance of getting that disease at all, which is great. It's great. And so that's that. But since both of these are half, like, it's half this and half that, we get the 12.5% for the passing down of the allele, or not, because his father could have also passed down the small allele as shown over here. And that just about wraps it up. We would suggest, possibly to the parents, it would be their choice of whether they wanted to continue with kids or not, because of this 12.5% chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma, for that well-described video. Now for the probabilities. From the pedigree, we can tell that Nick has a 25% chance of having HD, and the probability that Nick and Nora will have a child with HD is 12.5. The probability that 2 out of the 4 children will have HD is 6.25%, and the probability that at least 1 child out of the 3 will have Huntington's disease is 12.5%. And now we're going to consult with a quick video.
All of our research and information on Huntington's disease, we recommend the following. We think that Nick should be tested for this disease. This test is not mandatory. This would be for your own good and for you to know that the disease is not present in your case. This will start with an initial appointment with a genetic counseling team to record your family history and provide information and discuss the option of genetic testing. A blood sample will be needed for the test, and then another appointment will be held to receive the results. Last, you have a follow-up of counseling and support. This test is 100% accurate, or around there. On average, this test will take an overall time of, we guess, about 3 months. And once this test is over, you will have an outcome on the circumstances of you